I will never for the life of me understand how they don't understand what they're talking about while so proudly proclaiming that they do understand what they're talking about. And all of this happening while they have access to all of the information that they need to figure out if they're right or wrong.
Why in the world are you making minimum wage as an adult? I'm just kind of curious. Just because you have a job doesn't mean it should be a livable wage. I'm sorry. If you honestly think that, then you have no ambition in life. You want to be able to just flip burgers and buy a house and a car and live. Have more ambition in your life. Minimum wage should not, it has never. That is such a false statement too. My dad, he's a boomer. He was born in the 50s. His dad, minimum wage has never gotten you a house. I don't know where that rumor came from, but if you look it up, minimum wage never got you a house. That is a complete false narrative. Urban myth.
So let's deal with the factual parts first and the emotional parts second. First of all, while rare, yes, it was possible to buy a house and a car and live on minimum wage in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Oftentimes, people who worked minimum wage jobs, however, rented rather than buying a house, but still were able to live and survive without the need of government assistance. So, right off the bat, you didn't do an ounce of actual research, or you did research and it didn't fit your narrative, so you just lied about the facts anyway. Either way, you're incorrect about that. People like you constantly argue that the minimum wage was never meant to be a living wage. Well, that's also false. Obviously, we can go back to Franklin Roosevelt's statement on the National Industry Recovery Act, the minimum wage, on June 16th of 1933, and you can go read all of the things that he said about it, but more specifically within the context of what he said, is this area here. In my inaugural, I laid down the simple proposition that nobody is going to starve in this country. It seems to me to be equally plain that no business which depends for existence on paying less than living wages to its workers has any right to continue in this country. By business, I mean the whole of commerce as well as the whole of industry. By workers, I mean all workers, the white-collar class as well as the men in overalls. And by living wages, I mean more than a bare subsistence level. I mean the wages of a decent living. That is what the president at the time said when minimum wage became a thing. So any argument that minimum wage was never meant to be a livable wage is also patently false. That's the factual part of all of this. Now let's deal with the emotional part of it. You said just because you have a job doesn't mean it should be a livable wage. Do you know how fucking subhuman you have to be to carry that mentality? To look at a human being in this country and say, I understand that you're working 40 hours. Don't care. You don't deserve to live off of the money you earn working your ass off. What a dog shit thing to say about anybody who gets out of bed every morning and goes and busts their ass. You don't put a value in people that flip burgers, then don't go somewhere where people make food. You don't put a value in people who stock the shelves, then don't go to the fucking stores. You don't put value in anybody who works in low-wage, minimum-wage jobs, then don't utilize their fucking services. Because it's people like you that look at people at McDonald's, and I know McDonald's no longer, they're now paying much better, but we just use that as an example always. Look at people at the drive-through window at McDonald's and think, you don't deserve a livable wage because the job you do is beneath the rest of us, but yet give me my fucking food. If you work 40 hours in this country, you deserve to live off of the money you make. The argument that the people who are on government assistance are a bunch of lazy moochers is false, patently false. A vast majority of these people work their ass off, they just don't make enough money because people like you also vote for politicians who will not raise the minimum wage. They will not, through legislation, make sure that anybody who works 40 hours in this country can survive, but also want to deny government assistance to those very same people who need the assistance, even though they're working their ass off in this country. No, sir. Everybody who works full-time in this country deserves a livable wage. Everybody. I don't give a fuck who it is. If it's the CEO, if it's the board of directors, if it's the upper management level, if it's the worker bees, if it's the people flipping burgers, if it's the guy mopping the floor in the bathroom at your office building, it doesn't fucking matter. If you get up and put in an honest day's work, you deserve an honest day's pay. And we're not talking about enough money to jet to Paris. Sustain a decent living. Be able to afford to put a roof over your head, food on the table, get the medical care that you need. Maybe actually take a vacation once in a while. Nothing erratic, or nothing erratic. Sorry, nothing unusual, nothing exotic, but a decent life for working full time. I thought that was the American dream. I thought the American dream was if you get up and you went to work every fucking day, then you would be rewarded with a wage, a livable wage that would allow you to survive in this country. That's all you had to do was get up and work hard, right? No, you have to work hard on a job that you deem is worthy. What do you do for a living? Let's judge what you do.